Good day, Trader's Edge with high-tech trading analysis. I just recently released another update to my DrawBar, and I need to take some time to discuss some added features and some added drawing tools themselves. Now, I would just want to recap a couple things. If we come into the indicator's properties, remember in the last version, we added a DrawBar icon size so that we can change the size of these icons up here if we want to. If we want to make them a little bigger or a little smaller than the default, depending on your setup, whether you've got a 4K monitor, how big your monitor is. I've been requested several times over the past if I could make them a little bigger. We have that capability now. Always remember that we have an offset to the left and to the top for both of these drawbars. For both of these, I say drawbars, for both of the toolbars, color, draw. Always remember that in the color style, when we're looking at the offset now, because we added the icon size, we're going to have to adjust that offset here to match the size of the icons that you want to use. Now, previously, and we did this, I did this in the last version. Prior to the last version, the icon colors were static and black. And when you were using them in a darker background theme, they didn't show up very well when we were using the background for the toolbar as the same background as our chart. That was changed, and we added a color reversal so that when we're using this on a black chart on a black background, we can see our icons a little better now, a lot better now. Okay, from inside the properties, that is all that's pretty much changed in the last couple of versions. And we'll just say, okay, now I do need to make everybody aware that when you upgrade to this next version, I believe it's 43, you're going to have to resave all of your templates. A lot of features and most all of the custom drawing tools, they haven't changed. I don't believe that your templates, if you try to load them, that they'll give you any errors. They will work, but a lot of things have been added to each one that wouldn't be in your template right now, so that if you if you tried to load your old template, there are new features in most of the drawing tools that would not be loaded because they're not in your template. Now, all of your drawing tool templates are located in your Documents folder under NinjaTrader 8, Templates, Drawing Tools. And NinjaTrader 8, Template, and the Drawing Tools, we've got in each one of these, you've got however many templates that you might have saved. In this particular one, I've got a default, and then I've got 4 others in here. These are no good. I created these back in 2018. The properties that are being saved by these don't have everything in them for this tool anymore. Well, they might for this particular tool, but I'm just saying many of these have changed. You want to resave all your templates again. Several of the newer drawing tools are not going to be in the toolbar by default. We have to come up and left click on our pencil and view everything that's available. You'll see what's already in the drawbar because it'll be checked, and if it's not in the drawbar and you want to see it, just check it. Let's go ahead and add most of everything back into the drawbar. These haven't changed. I don't use a GAN fan. The polygon hasn't changed. This probably adds everything back into the DrawBar. Okay, notice up here in the drawing bar, some of these things are have a different background to them. Remember, in our properties, for both of the toolbars, we set the default background color, and then we set a hidden background color. For most of these tools up here, if we middle click on this, if we were to, let's just say that we were to draw that and I middle click that icon, I can hide the drawing tool that I just did. Notice the icon. The background changes to show us that that is hidden. Well, in the case of stay in draw mode, there is no hidden, there's an on off. We're saying that that's off when it has the different background color. Same as show chart markers, same as ChartTrader. That all hasn't changed. None of that's changed. Okay, so we have our new tools here. Let's take a look. I've created a new risk. We have a risk reward tool. It's a multiple entry scale in per se risk reward tool. Click once for an entry, drag, click again for an entry, drag, click for your stop, and then we show you, depending on the multiple that you have set up in the properties of this, where your target should be. Now, in this next version, in the very newest version, I've added one called Reward Risk, and that's just because I named it backwards, so it would be a different tool. Turn the icon upside down. This time, we're going to click for our entry. We're going to click for our stop, and now we're going to be able to click wherever we want our reward to be and see what it is that we're getting by that multiple. This is telling us the number of ticks. This is telling us the dollar figure that that is worth. This is telling us the multiple we're getting. So rather than be stuck with something that you can only look at the percentage that you tell it, now you can put it wherever you want. Let's see what's available if we right click on this. We can turn the labels off. All of my tools are going to have custom right click menus. This doesn't have much, but we can show the tick offset over here, meaning how many ticks is price away from this line. So let's just say that I had a couple things on my chart. I just want to, here's a couple quick things. I had a couple things on my chart. I just drew this risk reward. I don't want the risk reward anymore. There are several ways that I can go about that. If I wanted to get rid of all of the risks reward on my chart, or reward risk, whichever one I'm using here, I could come up to that icon and right click it, and it will delete just those objects, all of those objects on my chart. Okay, I can left click this to select, I can right click, and I can say remove. I can left click our remove all draw objects. It's going to show what type of objects I have on here, and I can remove them all. You're not just going to remove this one line this way. You're going to remove them all. Same thing as if I right click on this, I'm going to remove them all, but I am only going to remove that type of object from the chart. Okay, or if we draw that, if we right click or excuse me, if we select the object, left click on it, and we right click or remove all draw objects, it will only remove that one object. So that one's removed, but we can right click here and still see the other type of objects on our chart, and we can remove them as a group. The only way to get rid of, if I had multiple lines on my chart, the only way to get rid of one of these lines would be to select it, select either one of these, and right click the remove all objects. It will go away. Just that one line. I thought I had that built into the icons themselves the same way, but apparently if you right click on the icon, you're going to remove all of the lines. Okay, if we just left click or remove all draw objects, it's going to remove everything from our chart just like normal. In our normal risk reward tool, I did add some, you can notice, you'll probably notice between this and the previous version, I did add some colors and some opacities for our entry level, our risk level, and our target levels as well. From a region standpoint, I think we added, we added quite a bit to this one, didn't we? And I discussed this, I believe, in the last video, although I'm not sure if this is new or not. We can put a custom text in our region now. We can have an alert on break, or we can have an alert on touch, meaning if we draw this region, we set this, and price comes up and touches this bottom, and we have this selected, we're going to get an alert. Now, the alert sound is going to depend on, if I had that on, the alert sound is going to depend on what you have set up in the template. Maybe this might be one of the reasons why the template's changed. Because now you have to pick an alert sound. By default, alert 1 and alert 2. If you want these to be different, you just set them, save them as a template, and then use that template. What would I mean by that? Okay, right now, let's see. I don't have any templates for regions saved. So I would say save template, new. If I wanted to be at this as a default, I would just say default, and I would say save. And now every time that I draw another region, this will be the default way that it draws it. So let's remove that. Let's take our DrawBar off so it doesn't interfere. Let's come over here and click on that and see if we can draw another one. Notice how test is still in this. Now, we probably don't want to set up our default with any type of custom comment. Maybe you do. But we set up the defaults here, how we want to see it. Then we right click and save it. I'm going to, let's get rid of that. Show price labels, range label. Okay, I like that. I want to save that. I'm going to save it over as a default because I've gotten rid of my custom text. And now this is a default way that it's set up. Okay, now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, because this was selected and I selected something different on the DrawBar, I've changed the color. Now I can come down here and say Save Template, New, and I'm just going to call this Red. Now I'm going to delete everything on the chart. I'm going to turn my color bar off so that it doesn't affect what I'm drawing. And I'm going to draw another one real quick. By default, that's going to be yellow, and this is how it's going to draw it. If I had something as a template, I wanted to change it to real quick, I could just say load default red, and that other template that I put there is now on there. This would apply for any tool. Let's get rid of that and let's move on. Lines have changed quite a bit. Give me some room here. If we draw a line on the chart, that's my default line, huh? Okay, in the beginning I told everybody, and I told you, that you had to resave your templates. And I might as well. But right now, whatever I was drawing that as, I didn't like it as my default. I want this as my default. I'm just going to come up and say Save Template. I already have a default template. I'm going to save it over it, and I'm done. So it's not like you have to delete all your templates. Just make sure they're set up the way that you want them and resave them. So now when we right-click our line to get our custom right-click menu, we're going to see all kinds of new features. Okay, the first one we want to talk about is down here for our labeling. I've changed labeling for everything and added quite a bit to many, many objects. Now, what do we mean by that? Right now, I'm just showing the price that I'm drawing, that I started to draw this line at. Let's get rid of it. Let's draw a line from here to here. Okay, we'll scrunch this up just a little bit. I'm left clicking on it to select it. I know it's selected because I see the anchor point selected, and then I can right click on the line. Dot labels, show anchor dots. Notice how you're seeing a little dot here and a little dot here. That is because in the properties we're saying show anchor dots. If you don't want them, which would be just like the default, which the default does not put them there, the default line, then just turn that off. Save that as your default template and you won't see them anymore. Dot labels. We're talking about the start point dot labels. We can now show price. We can now show the tick range. So what is the range in ticks between our start point and our end point? What is the dollars that is associated with that range in ticks? How many bars did it take to go from the start point to the end point? What time is the start point? What was the time span between the start point and the end point? We drew it here to here. This took 6 hours, 16 minutes, and 6 days, 16 hours, 30 minutes, 0 seconds. You might not see days there if you're not spanning across days. Pretty much everything now has all of these labels available to them. Notice the dashes. If I unselect show dot labels, even though all of these are checked, my labeling is going to go off. And that's just so that you don't have to click all of these to get everything off. If you don't want to see the labels, just don't show the labels. Or you can show whatever label that you happen to want. don't want to see the times, don't want to see the bar range. Look at it like this. I think by default, I don't know what it is by default. The show anchor extensions, meaning the start point and end point, that hasn't changed. I did move the price labeling down to the bottom so that if you want to see the prices over here for the extensions, whether that be the start and the end or even the midpoint, we do have to select that. If you don't want to see the tick offset or the ticks that the current price is away from that line, we just turn that off. In all of the lines, we have an is horizontal, meaning if I select that is horizontal and come back to the chart, that line is now going to be horizontal. So no matter where I drag, I'll have to fix that. But you can see the anchor points are horizontal. But no matter where I drag and let go, that is going to end up being a horizontal line. Now, at the same time, if I hold the Shift key down, let's left click on this, hold the Shift key down and start to draw. We'll notice that I can only draw horizontal. That works with most of our drawing tools. Now, hold the Control key down and let's draw it again. Notice how I can only draw it in a straight line. So Shift key, Control key, or set the default to is horizontal makes any one of these a horizontal line. So let's go back into this again. How would I want to do this? Let's do this. Let's just draw from there. Okay, now I just drew a line for whatever reason. For whatever reason you drew that line. Don't need to show labels or anything on this. I was just trying to show that, you know, we haven't broken that trend. Now, as with any of the lines that aren't already extended, like the ray or an extended line, if we right-click on this, we can extend. Oh, phone's ringing. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I had a phone call. Let's see, where were we at? If we left-click our line and right-click for our right-click menu, as always, we can extend that right or we can extend that left, and we can do that on all lines and shapes that aren't already extended. Couple new ones. With the line selected. Okay, let's say that I didn't want the line to go from here to here. I wanted the line to extend out to this bar. But I didn't want to change the slope of the line as I've drawn it. As long as the line is selected, wherever I click on the chart, the right-click menu is going to, right-click context menu is going to come up. And say I want to extend it to this bar. If I right-click here, I'm just right-clicking on where that bar is. And I can say extend anchor here. And that will automatically extend that line to whatever bar that I was on. We've always been able to extend to the right. Now we can extend to a particular place that we click, or we also have the ability to extend the anchor to the last bar. So rather than extending it right all of the time, this is going to extend it to the last bar on the chart. Now, if we extend it to the last bar on the chart and the chart continues to make bars, this is not going to continue to extend. It's just going to extend to the last bar on the chart that we did that to. Now, why I saw this feature in Sierra charts through another customer, and why this came about was there will be times where you could draw a line on your chart. Let's just say that we drew a line here, and then we extended that right. And we were watching and that line's there and that line's there, and price is moving and price is moving. And this is a 15-minute chart, and 60 days have elapsed, and this line's still on our chart because it's never been touched again. And we change this to a tick chart, and there's only 3 minutes on the tick chart. When you change to the tick chart, you're not going to see this line because both the start and the end anchors are before the first bar of the chart. What this will allow you to do now is, if you face that situation and you're drawing this on a larger time frame chart, we can automatically set the end anchor to be, since we're extending it right anyway, we set the end anchor to the end of the chart. And then when we change this to a tick chart that's only got 3 days on it instead of 103 days on it, we still see our line. Okay, where else are we going with this? We can extend here. That's wherever we left click, as long as, it doesn't, you can't really see it with that, but if I've left clicked right here and I say extend here, that's where your that's where your line is going to extend to. I'll extend right. Okay, if we have it extended right, we can set an alert now. I can show the price label of that line as well. Now, if I'm showing the price labels, these price label down here is still in effect. I need to probably rearrange a few things here, but if I want to see the price, I must have the price on. And if I don't want to see the tick offset, I just turn the tick offset off. But this price is right on it. That's the price this bar would have to trade at to touch that line. And that's all it's got to do if this is checked for an alert. One thing to be aware of when we're looking at alert on touch and draw objects. Okay, it's not going to matter how you've set up your script. If this is not in an active window, meaning, let's just say that I duplicate this in a new tab. I'm going to go ahead on this chart and get rid of all of those lines because this isn't going to be that chart anyway. This is going to be an NQ chart. This chart is inactive and in the background. Any alerts that I have set on those draw objects are not going to go off. An inherent problem, or just, yeah, I mean, it is kind of a problem, but because they're not rendering in the background, and because that's all built into that render code, those won't work in the background. What else do we have here? And then all of the rest is pretty much the same. The load templates, the save templates, all that's the same. Duplicate. I think that pretty much covers it. Now, we do have some custom text that was added to much of our draw objects, and that would end up showing at our start bar, or our start anchor per se. Whoops, what happened there? Let's click in there and put test. Notice how it shows underneath price over here. So let's get rid of that. We have the same type of thing available for our raise. And then the same type of thing available for our extended line. The same type of thing available for our arrowed line. You can see probably as by default, I have this extended to the right. So I believe we have the same type of things associated to the horizontal and vertical line. If we click on the vertical line, we now can show labels. We can show, but that's been there all of the time. If I had multiple panels, I can also select this, and that my vertical line will show in all panels. I thought I added a custom. Oh, I did. So we do have a custom text that we can place on our line. So let's get rid of the vertical line, and in the horizontal line we have the same type of thing, although we do have an alert on this as well. Have I added an alert to the vertical line yet? I have not, but I will consider that. So now the path tool, this is a new custom path tool. Prior to this version, we were using the default. What I've done with this is, the path tool is you click once and then you draw and you click again and you get an anchor, and you click again and you get an anchor, and you click again and you get an anchor, and we're just drawing, let's just say you're drawing structured high and retracements, or structured low and retracements, or you're trying to draw an ABCD. In this tool, I don't know, this shouldn't all be on by default. Okay, so how are we going to explain this?